Hey everybody, Cindy Daychuck here with Queen Bee Creations. Today we are going to make over this big honking gift tag. Now this I happen to thrift. I happen to have thrifted a couple of them, but we are going to do this one up as opposed to as a sign. We're going to do it up as more a decor piece, something that you would add to a vignette. You would use it as a backdrop, lean it against a wall perhaps with, you know, a potted plant and a candlestick. So, whoops. So we're going to do it kind of in a nice decorative finish. The first step in this process though is to cover up all of just this press board. So I am going to take the opportunity to paint it white. Doesn't matter what brand of white, we're going to be doing tons of stuff on top of it. I just wanted a nice neutral background to it. And I'm saying white, and now I'm thinking cream. Now I'm going white. I have white open. You could do cream. It's just, sometimes for smalls, I don't want to open up a whole big jar of something. So I've got a big jar of white open, so I'm going with that. I may blend other colors in with it. We'll see. But just neutral background. Now that our tag has got just a base coat on it, it doesn't mean that that's the finished color. It just means it's got a base coat on it. What I want to do is add some decoupage paper. Now, you could add any paper of your choice, obviously, to be able to make it yours. What I am going to use is that I recently did some jelly plate printing. I'll try and remember to drop a link to it. And I'm thinking I'm going to use my own papers from that. So to do that, I'm going to kind of roughly tear my edges on them. So let me get this torn, and then, because I'm not looking at having any straight edges, so let me get them all torn, and then we can look at placement and where we go from there. Once you've got your paper, and you could use any tissue papers, decoupage papers, scrapbooking papers, whatever you got, whatever you want. I'm just looking at kind of adding these in, just in pieces here and there. I don't want them covering. Don't want them in their entirety, and I don't care if they go over the edge because we'll deal with that after. I just want a bit of interest happening, and I'm okay with them overlapping. All right, that kind of works for me. What I want to do is I do want to just kind of, while I have a chance, to kind of age those rough torn edges. So I'm just taking a little bit of brown, you know, archival ink. You could do this with any of your decor inks, IOD. I'm just looking to age them a little bit so that white paper doesn't look so pristine. You could use, if you have brown wax, you could use brown wax. Just put it on a little bit of a makeup sponge maybe from the dollar store and do that. That would work great. So it's always workarounds, right? You could tea stain the paper as well, you know, or coffee stain it if you wanted. I'm just adding kind of some colorful elements here as a base before we start playing with other elements. So what I am going to do is take some of my decoupage medium. I just have Mod Podge because it's open. No other reason, guys, right? So use whatever you have. Use a watered down white craft glue if that's all you've got. It's not going to matter for something like this. So I'm just going to get these glued down. I can go over the top a little bit if I need to. I just want them laying flat. And I'm going to give them a couple of moments to dry before we carry on with more things that we're going to be doing to them. With this, I'm thinking that while I'm at it with that kind of brown kind of edging that I did around all those papers, I'm just going to do it around all the edge too. I mean, I want to fill this in. We're going to be adding some textural elements, but we might as well just get some of that in there too, you know, while we're at it. So I have been grabbing some different elements and pulling them together before we start doing some stenciling on there and things. So I'm going to pull you in kind of overhead so that you can see a little bit more of what's going on, because that makes more sense.
So the downside of using a microphone for you guys is that I have no way of knowing as I'm filming when it's decided it needs to be recharged. So unfortunately, this section we're doing a voiceover, and I will eventually get the hang of it. What I've got here are some old book pages that I'm just tearing up and I'm adding in. So really what I'm looking at here is just contrasting backgrounds. You know, we've got some of the color down, now we're getting some words in there. And really, you're just adding whatever makes sense. You might have some different patterns that you want to use, adding in some different paper elements and see how that goes as you're going on. And now I've just kind of gone into a stash of items that I have, little collection of things. Some flip books with some different little images that I'm going to look through, figure if there's a little piece that I want to use. Here I've chosen a little floral, and I'm just going to kind of tear around the edges, soften it a little bit, and just decoupage that in place. I've got my book pages kind of glued down and ready to go. I'm going to add this element in, have it in there, a couple of little spots to be able to, again, add some additional images and a little bit of extra kind of switch up. We're just collaging more than anything else. Here I have some fabric butterflies and images. I had done a video a while ago for you guys where I had done some jelly plate printing onto fabric, and then I had stamped using one of the IOD stamps for the butterflies, the image in the black ink on top, cut it around. But I have, and I'm showing you here, that I have fusible binding on the back. So when you peel it back, it's all sticky. It's already glued on, and I'd use that to adhere to my jeans. Now I have some little stamps, graphic images on stamps where it's got, again, a plastic backing you peel off and stick down, and I'm just applying those in a couple of spots. So really what you're doing is you're kind of looking for different images, different graphics, adding them where it makes sense. Then you can go to your stamps and you can add stamps in whatever way. So we're overlaying images once we have the stamps. And that's why I've done it at this stage, so that I've got some of my blank areas. I can lay it down over my papers that I've already glued into place. And we can have those images. And I did kind of a butterfly, knowing that I'm going to be adding those fabric butterflies at the end. They're my last piece that I'll add. And then I have some words. So I'm just laying those down, and I'm not using the full stamp. I'm just doing little bits and pieces of the words overlaying here and there.
Now that this has had a chance to dry, I just want to be able to go around the edges very quickly here and sand off any of my overhang more than anything else, and get that all removed from my edges. Once I've got those edges done, because I'm going to be adding some relief elements now, I just want to add any aging. So I've got some dark wax here, and I'm just going to be kind of going around some of my edges, even around some of my internal elements. And I'm just going to be adding a little bit of those aging elements. And I kind of have to do that now because once I add some of my other pieces to it, it's going to be harder to be able to get around into some of these pieces. So you don't have to do this stage if you don't want things aged or looking older. Just if you do. So you can see it's not going to go everywhere. I mean, it looks like I'm putting it everywhere, but I haven't actually gotten all that much on my brush at all. But I'm just kind of adding it in here and there-ish. And that's good enough. Not a lot. The next piece I want to do, though, is I do want to add some texture. So I have a little tiny stencil, and I'm going to take some smooth embossing paste from Fusion. And this is maybe a thinner guy. Here we go. And you can see this is very paste-like. It's very thick, and that's what I want. I also have a little bit of gold paint that has gotten thick, which is perfect because I'm going to mix the two. So the nice thing about the embossing paste is it's kind of in a pearl color. So you could use it as is in that pearl, give that kind of light lustery finish. Or in my case, I just want to add it in kind of this little bit of a gold, kind of soft goldy kind of pearl. You can see that the pearl kind of softens it out. But if I do this at this stage, then it means I don't have to go back in and paint it afterward. I can go and do like a little dry brushing with my finger with something if I want to add a little bit more color. But what I am looking at doing, and I'm just deciding on patterns here. So I have a bunch of little stencils that are different kind of shapes and textures and things. And I'm just kind of deciding what I want to do here. Not wood grain. Ropes. Just seeing if the one I picked is the one I want to use. And I think I might add different textures. So I'm just looking to take this and put some on my palette knife, and I'm actually just going to put it through my stencil. And what I'm not doing, and I'm just kind of smoothing it as I go, is I'm not trying to get it everywhere perfect. Because of the way that I'm doing this and the reason that I'm doing this, I actually don't need it to be kind of the full perfect outline. I'm just kind of adding in a little bit of textural element on my piece here and there. So with this, we're just going to add this through our stencil in a number of different places, in a number of different directions and patterns. And then I'm going to put this off to the side to dry. So I don't want to mush it or disturb it in any way. I want it to have a chance to be able to kind of dry, add a little bit of texture here and there. And then we'll leave it overnight so it can dry, do its thing, and then I can come and add the rest of whatever I want to do. But you can see I'm not putting it everywhere. I've just added it very lightly in some spots. And in relief, you can see that it kind of sticks up a little bit. Not a lot. It's going to be just the thickness of your stencil. And that stencil is pretty darn thin. So we're not adding tons of texture, but it definitely adds a little bit of relief in there. And I think that's enough. So I'm going to clean off my stencil. I'm going to pack the rest of this away into a small lidded container that I have. So I have the embossing paste in gold already, ready to go on another project. Now that my raised pattern has dried, and I quite love it, dried really quite quickly. And I love that added dimension. What I want to do is add a couple of these little cloth stamped butterflies. Now I mentioned that I had made these. It's got a fusible backing on it. I had made these in another video and I put them all over a pair of jeans. So what I am looking at doing is just kind of, I don't know, making a selection here, thinking about colors and look and size, and adding a couple of these butterflies on here and taking advantage of a previous project, because that's what it's all about. Now, I am thinking color-wise, I'd like to switch it up a little bit here. Maybe a blue and a... Okay, I'm going to get these attached, and I am going to take a black marker and run it around the edges so that the edges are nice and consistent. And then I'll see about whether I want to hang anything up at the top hole or not. Got my butterflies on, lovely textural element. We've got that rough layered raised design. And then I just added some jute string, right? And all kinds of, I did a couple of big brass keys and some different wood beads, all dangling and picking up some of the tones that are there. And this just becomes like probably like a shelf sitter behind maybe a vignette. You know, you have it leaning against the wall and you've got a lovely, you know, blue turquoise or dark teal vase here, maybe a low wood, like a little low planter or candlestick, or it's just kind of a backdrop for whatever you're looking at doing. Certainly you could do the same thing, but with particular memories and sayings appropriate to a particular person as part of a gift, perhaps. And it becomes a bit of a memory board. So you can do it as just a collage board, using up little pieces of paper and different items that you have. Maybe it becomes a special memory board for you for a particular vacation or a gift for somebody else. Quick little fun craft, something to do with a lot of your little leftover pieces, perhaps. You saw me pulling from old projects that I had. And just a lovely, fun little craft that you could do on your own, you could do as a gift, you could do with your kids. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. Looking forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.